Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, SPC 205 public speaking students, whatever time you're consuming this little artifact of educational media. I am, as always, your public speaking instructor, Victor McInnes, coming to you live on tape once again from my COVID 19 compound here in the bustling Grovetown, Georgia metro area, the Aiken Tech Outpost in Columbia County, Georgia. Not Maryland. I'm not in Maryland this week. Hey, listen. Just for the record, I am going to be bouncing back and forth. You will see some lectures from the classroom, but I'm only there one day a week, and I've got a lot of other things that I have to do while I'm there. So we'll just jump right into it here. You'll be familiar with the bookshelves. Got two things to cover today. It's going to be fairly short, hopefully really quick. If you can see my HTML up here, my Chrome browser, you can see that we're going to talk about the informative speech rubric. But first of all, I just want to talk to you a little bit about speaking to inform. Speaking to inform to a great extent is pretty intuitive. That's the word I'm looking for. It's pretty intuitive. But we're going to go through this because there are some key concepts I think you need to understand. Okay, first of all, an informative speech conveys knowledge. That's it. It is not any more complex than that. It is a way for you to communicate information you have to people who do not have that information. We can make it more complex. I could give you some more definitions. There's a definition I saw online a little while ago that had about 14 points to it. Let me adjust my lighting here. It's very bright outside today. Oh, there. Oh no, wait a minute. So, I could go into some modeling and everything else, but really, it's just a way to get information to people. Informative speeches are important. And I had a dog just walk into the room. And now he's going under the desk. Okay. Informative speeches are important because that's how people make informed decisions. They rely on people who have information to give them information. You may be invited to come talk about, a new business is opening that you're running. You may be invited to talk about a bond initiative that the county is doing. You may be asked to give a safety talk if you're in the emergency services. I have a friend of mine who's a game warden, and he said he was really surprised the first year he was in. He probably spent 15 to 20% of his time educating people about hunting and fishing laws and safety issues and everything else like that. So it is, if you're a person with knowledge, it is how we convey knowledge so that other people can live their lives better, do things more safely, however you want to put it. An informative speech is simply that, a means to deliver knowledge. There is no attempt to persuade. If the audience changes their behavior or attitudes based on the information you give them, that's up to them. You don't have anything to do with that. You're just conveying information. Information A goes out to the people. That's it. You're not trying to get them to change attitudes. Now, there is a big argument, and again, within the communications field, that informative speaking is inherently persuasive, because if I'm going to talk to you about smoking, if I'm going to talk to you about oral hygiene, if I'm going to talk to you about how to maintain your car, I am implicitly implying that you should maintain your car, that you should brush your teeth. If I'm, educating you on how to brush your teeth, I'm implying that you really should be brushing your teeth on a fairly regular basis and doing it well. And you can argue that all day long, and yeah, there's some weight to it, but really, there's no overt attempt to persuade. You're not telling people at the end of this, you're going to do that. Okay? And that's real simple. Partisan issues can be addressed, but impartiality is the key. I can get up and talk about anything, but I have to make sure it's fact-based. Because if people begin to believe, in fact, an informative speech is a great way to deliver information on a very partisan subject that people are very engaged in and very excitable about. When people get up and say, "Why are you trying to tell me that we should get rid of all of our electric toothbrushes?" No, sir, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to give you information on electric toothbrushes. That's all I'm doing. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever going to get that upset about electric toothbrushes, But if electric toothbrushes were a partisan issue in Aiken County, South Carolina, you could talk to people about it just by giving them information. Now, some of them are going to assume that you're trying to be persuasive, but if you work really hard at making sure they understand, I am just here to convey information. Okay, that will you do have the opportunity to just provide information. Some key concepts. Audience analysis is key. Now, you would think that if I'm just doing an informative speech and I'm just giving them information, this should be fairly easy. But with any piece of information, there is layers, there's myriads of connectivity. So you have to make sure you know your audience. If you go over information they already have, you're wasting time. Okay, they've already got the information. You're not going to accomplish your purpose by communicating more information to them. You're going to bore them. They're not going to listen to you. You're not going to build your credibility. Also, if you use evidence they don't care about, you're again wasting your time. And I think we've talked about, the possibility of, the hypothetical new wing that we're going to build onto the Aiken Regional Medical Center. We would have completely different discussions with bankers in New York, businessmen in Aiken, and nursing students at Aiken Technical College. For one, I need, evidence about money and income rates for a hospital in the area. For the other, I need, how many extra people are going to be moving into the economy to spend money in Aiken. And the other one I'm going to need about, details about how many people we're going to be hiring. Okay? You need to make sure you're tailoring your evidence to your audience. You also need to avoid jargon. My very first semester teaching full-time at Aiken Technical College, when we're in class, not virtually, but when we're in class, I try to randomly assign people to introduce each other. That way, we sort of move people around the class so people aren't locked into that one seat they've been in. Because much like a Baptist church, my classes fill from the back to the front. So the pews in the back get filled first. So I make people at the beginning of the second day of class, I make people move around the room and sit next to somebody hopefully they've never met before. Well, one day, two people met each other, and I give it by giving numbers. So the two sevens get up and they sit next to each other. They never met before, but what they found out was that they were nurses' aides that worked on two separate, or LPNs or whatever. I don't understand the jargon. They worked in the wards next to each other at Augusta University Hospital. And they hit it off. They became good friends, right? And then they get up and give a 2-minute speech introducing each other. Well, they both got up and they were throwing terms around, and they were like, we had the PQAs and we do the, the NQRs, and then we get the quantifaxes. And they both gave really excited speeches. They were really glad to know each other. And when they sat down, I went, hey, that was a great speech. I have no idea what the hell you were just talking about. Because they used the jargon. Every industry, every group will generate their own technical vocabulary. Stay away from it. The other guys that are really bad about it, there's two in our community. Number one's the military. Army veterans will talk about all sorts of stuff that I get, but then I'll look around the room and I'll be going, nobody else knows what you're talking about. You need to stop. The second group that will do that will be the guys from Savannah River that are talking about nuclear power concepts. I'm friends with, through the Auburn Alumni Association, an engineer who works down in SRP. I'm not stupid when it comes to engineering concepts. I'm fairly well educated and a well-rounded human being, but when he starts talking about work, fortunately, his wife will usually go, yeah, just you're not making sense to human beings anymore. So avoid technical vocabularies. Limit the information you're going to present. The example of a speech I've been giving for 2 years is the fish population in Clarko Reservoir. Seems like a pretty straightforward topic, but one day I actually got out and Googled fish populations in Georgia lakes, and there was literally tens of thousands of pages of data that could be communicated. So even in my made-up speech, I limit it to 3 pieces of information. The 1988 fish population survey, the 2015 fish population survey, and what was the cause of the drop in fish population. Those are very small. I mean, it's a huge topic that we could fill for days. But limit the amount of information you're going to give them. Probably it's going to be a time factor. Remember, you're only going to have 4 to 6 minutes on these speeches. So determine what you really need us to know and then focus on that, okay? If they have previous knowledge, make sure you acknowledge that. It makes them feel better. It shows that you care about what they know already. Okay? And make it relevant. Again, that's going to go through audience analysis. Make sure you understand the audience enough to where you're presenting ideas that they need, that they're going to be able to use. All right? And then make it personal. Don't just talk about, even though it's an informative speech, make sure they know why they need to know, not just why everybody needs to know, but why is this important to them? All right? Last thing. Don't take on concepts that would be hard to envision in your context. We're not going to be using visual aids. I need you to learn how to speak without visual aids. I may talk a little bit about visual aids before we're done. It's about a 15-minute lecture. It's really quick and easy. But you need to learn how to, in my opinion, and because I'm the instructor, that's what's important. You don't need to learn to speak with visual aids. You need to learn to speak, and then you can figure out the visual aid speech later. But if you're going to come in and stand up in front of us and try to explain quantum physics in 4 to 6 minutes, you're going to struggle. If you're going to discuss, the history of the British monarchy in 4 to 6 minutes, that ain't going to happen. Okay? You need to get a concept, and you need to get a central idea that you want to communicate. Like I told you when we were talking about outlining, in 4 to 6 minutes, you're not going to be able to cover 23 separate points. You're going to need 2 or 3 main points. Okay? So that's where we're at with that. I am now going to go to the next thing I want to talk to you guys about. Ta-da! The informative speech rubric. This is how I'm going to grade you. This should look kind of familiar to you. This is Blackboard's. This is in the document folder for everyone to see. Okay? And this is how you're going to be graded. It should all look familiar. It looks the same roughly as your ceremonial speech did. I'll say 10, 30, 40. Just trying to make sure the points add up. I may have to go back. Oh, yeah, we're good. 75 points. Okay, the first thing you're going to notice here is your outline. That is not part of the 75 points for the speech. That is a different 20 points. I will grade the outline that shows up in Blackboard. I have asked you to send me your outlines by Monday morning at 8. Those are drafts, so I can give you feedback. The outline I will grade will be the outline that is on Blackboard. Okay? Now, grading the speech itself. Real simple. And I'm going to tell you, if you listen to me now, all right, I will tell, and for the outline, you want 20 out of 20. When I give you feedback on your outline, fix it. If I've given you feedback on your outline saying you need to indicate your evidence, you don't have a closing statement, if I indicate something like that when I mail it back to you and you send it back to me like so many people do without any updates or changes, you're going to lose points. It's that simple. If I tell you to make a change on your outline when I send your draft back and you do not make those changes, do not complain when you do not get a 20 points on your outline. That simple. Okay, now let's move forward. This is how you're going to get a 75 out of 75 on this speech. Listen to me carefully, and I will tell you exactly what you need to do. All right? Number 1, you get up, you stop, you stand there for a second, you get your feet planted, you get good posture, you then give me an attention device. That is not a question of some sort. Rhetorical questions will get an X. Okay? And if you get an X next to attention device, that means you didn't get an attention device and you lost points. A dramatic statement, a joke, a quote, startling statistics that are delivered with vocal emphasis. Every year, we kill 2 million dogs and cats in our animal shelters in the United States. Let me say that again. 2 million. Okay? That's a good attention device. Okay? If you get up there and you say, have you ever thought about how many? No, that's it. Big X. If you give me a good attention device, you get a check. That means you got the points. If you don't give me a good attention device, you get an X. If you get up there and say, good morning. No, that's good morning is not a good, hey, how you doing? My name is, no, sorry. You get an X. Next thing is statement of purpose. Real simple. If I hear you say, today I'm going to be talking to you about, you get a big check, you get the points. If I don't hear you say that, you do not get the check, you get the X, you get no points for that. Okay? Statement of purpose. Today I will be talking to you about, okay? Next thing, preview of the main points. And again, I haven't, remember in the lecture, I told you to stick your credentials in between your preview of your main point, between your statement of purpose and your preview of your main points. So you give your statement of purpose. Today I will be talking to you about the fish population in Clark Hill Reservoir. My name is Vic McInnes, and I've been researching this for a while, okay? Or I've been doing research on this topic. That just got me a check for statement of purpose and for speaker credentials. Now, if you discount your own credentials by saying something like, I've been researching this for the last few days. No, you just say, I've been doing research on this topic. Okay? I have had people get up in front of me and give speeches where they say, I am surely no expert on this. Humility does not work at this point. Okay? Self-deprecating humor does not work in your introduction. People think that you do that and they hear that and they think you're doing it because you're really not qualified. That you're not comfortable standing in front of us giving a speech. So your speaker credentials are a simple statement of your knowledge that does not qualify your qualifications. Okay? Simple. All right? Check. Then after you give your qualifications, you go, I'm going to talk to you about 3 main things today, or 2 main things today. My first main point is going to be the 1988 fish population survey in Clark Hill Reservoir. My second main point is going to be the 2015. Check. Preview of main points. Keeping that statement of purpose and those preview of main points separate and away from each other is how you get all of that. Give me a good attention device that's not a question, that doesn't start with, hey, how you doing? Giving me a good statement of purpose, telling me your qualifications without discounting your own qualifications, and then giving me a solid preview of your main points. Today I'm going to talk about 2 main ideas. That gets you 10 out of 10. That's really easy. Okay? Body, 20 points. Effective organization of the main points. You should know that before you get, you should have a good idea of how to do that when you get your draft outline back. Okay? And that will be probably Monday afternoon. I'm going to work really hard to get that done. Okay? So your organization has to be there. Then you have to transition between your main points. When you get to the end of that introduction and you say, I'm going to talk to you about 2 main things today. I'm going to talk to you about the upper Gulf of Mexico and the pollutants there, and the southern Gulf of Mexico and the pollutants located there. Pause. Now my first main point is, you go down the first main point. You end it. Pause. Now my second main point is going to be, that's effective transitions. Check. That's also effective organization. Check. Development of your subpoint shows me that you've got something underneath there that you move through coherently. That's all. Fairly simple. Get 3 checks, you get 20 points. Okay? Now, in your conclusion, there's one thing missing here, and I'm going to go throw that in a second. You need to restate your purpose as a separate and complete and distinctly different sentence than your review of your main points. Today, I've talked to you about the fish population in Clark Hill Reservoir. I talked about 2 main ideas. The fish population in 1988 and the fish population in 2015. Then, 2 separate sentences, clear and delineated. Okay? Do not do, today I talked to you about the fish population in Clark Hill Reservoir by talking to you about the 1988 and the 2015. That crams it all together. That does not give them that structure they need to hang everything on. Okay? They have to be separate sentences and they have to be delivered as separate sentences. Okay? The third thing you're going to be in there that didn't get on this because I didn't have access to the original Word document, I couldn't edit the PDF, is a closing statement. Okay? Give me a closing statement, you get 10 points. So this is a perfect conclusion. So today I've talked to you about the fish population in Clark Hill Reservoir. I discussed two main points. The first main point was the 1988 Fish Population Survey, and my second main point was the 2015 Fish Population Survey. So now you know more about our dwindling fish population and what is a key ecologic and economic resource for the greater CSRA. And then you stop. You do not say thank you. You do not make any quips. You just stop talking, and then you wait for 2 or 3 seconds, and then you go over and turn your camera off, or your cameraman turns the camera off. Okay? You don't ever end a speech in my class with thank you. That is a tension diffuser like hey or good morning. If you did a good speech, the audience should be thanking you. You should not be thanking them. You did something for them. They should be rapturously happy with you. So don't thank them. Don't talk. Wait a couple of seconds, then leave. Do that, 10 out of 10. Evidence, real simple. Every time I hear something like, according to, Dr. Bob Smith said, this comes from, you get a check. You use 3 pieces of evidence, you get a check. If you've got 3 pieces of evidence on your outline and you do not cite them in your speech, you get 0 out of 10 points. It makes no difference what you put on your outline for I don't know why I'm pointing at something you can't see. But for the use of evidence, it doesn't make any difference if it's on your outline. You have to cite it in your speech. You may get 20 out of 20 on your outline, but if you don't cite that evidence in your speech, you get a 0 out of 10 for that. Every time you cite a piece of evidence, I will make a check. You get 3 checks, you get 10 points. Nonverbal delivery is 15 points. It's kind of a big deal this time, all right? I expect you to be making eye contact. We've discussed nonverbal delivery. We do not look aimlessly around the hall. We do not stare at the floor. We do not look off to our sides. We look in the general direction of the camera and we move around. I know it's hard to do it when it's just you and an iPhone in a room by yourselves. I get that. But try to act like you're making eye contact. Stand up straight. Shoulders back, head up, feet evenly spaced apart. Okay? Gesture. Don't put your hands together in front of you. Keep them out to the sides. Gesture out to, we talked about gesturing out to the side. Again, you can't see that, but I'm gesturing to the sides. Keep your hands apart and separate. Relax your elbows. Be relaxed. All right, and then finally, and it's not on here, but vocal delivery is also important. Talk loud enough so that we can hear you. Be aware of background noise. Okay? I will go down and check. If you're making eye contact, check. If you're standing up straight and your weight is evenly placed on 2 feet without 1 foot being out front, without the feet crossing, without you shuffling around and swaying back and forth, you get 15 out of 15. Okay? Time's real simple. 3:59, you get 0. 6:02, you get 0. 4 to 6 minutes. That's a pretty wide space for this speech. That's 6 minutes. You got that's a third of the available time is your window. Okay, and then instructor comments is just where I write stuff down in general. Okay, so if you get up there and you stand in front of your camera and you turn your camera on and you plant your feet flat on the floor, evenly spaced, shoulder width apart, and you keep your hands out from being locked in front of you, relax your elbows, keep your back straight, keep your head up, speak in a volume that can be heard, gesture occasionally. If you stand up there and give me a good attention device, you state your purpose, you introduce your qualifications, and then you preview your main points. If you transition through your main points by going, my first main point is, my second main point is, and move through your speech like that and organize your subpoints. Okay? You pause and you say, in conclusion, and you restate your purpose, you review your main points, and you give me a good closing statement, and then you shut up. You wait a couple of seconds. You do not say thank you. You do not say that's it. You just stand there quietly for 2 or 3 seconds, and then you turn the camera off. And if you could do that all between 4 and 6 minutes, you will get a 75 out of 75. That is how simple this is. I could make it more simple, but I don't know how. I could just give everybody 75s, but then eventually Father Rogers would catch on, and it would be a problem. Okay? All right? If you have any questions about any of this, send me an email as quickly as possible. I will be posting this on Friday afternoon, the 16th. If you had, and I will be looking at my email occasionally all weekend, so if you have any questions about any of this, send me an email. All right, that is it. Voting is open in Georgia. If you're a Georgia resident and you have not voted yet and you do not have a plan to vote, you need to make a plan to vote. Lines are long because people are actually exercising their rights in a democracy. So please make a plan to vote. You can get if you live in Columbia County, if you live in Richmond County, you can get an absentee ballot fairly easily through the mail. Just go online. Same for South Carolina. You can then take it to the Board of Electors and turn it in. If you live in Columbia County, they have drop boxes in Richmond. I'm not sure what's going on in Aiken. I will look that up. Okay. All right. It's a weekend. Everybody stay safe. Everybody be well, and we will see you soon.